Welcome back to Programming with Qt Widgets. In this very final episode, I'll tell you about something I should have told you about like 60 episodes ago, but I didn't dare because it's too dangerous. I would like you to think of the worst boss you ever had and then multiply him by 10, because that's the boss that will be in the story that I'm going to tell you now. This boss, he just entered my office, and sure, it's not my boss, but just in the story, keep with me. Entered my office and said, "Hey Jesper, I got this excellent idea. I would like you to add this feature to our application. Whenever the cursor moves on top of a widget, it should right away in the status tip tell the user what that widget is about. So if you move it on top of a checkbox, it should tell the user that this is a checkbox. You can check it and uncheck it. And it basically means blah, 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 blah." And I didn't hear more of what he was saying, because it's a terrible idea. First of all, the user should know what a checkbox is. Second, it should definitely not tell it right away. So I started arguing with him. Like, that's a terrible idea. Let's not do that. But, well, he pulled rank on me, and in the end, I had no choice. So I had to implement this. So what would I do? This is a good time for you to pause the video and think of what options you have. I'm waiting. Okay, option number 1. Go to the Qt source code and look if the what's this hint is actually on a timer that you can change. You'll find that it's on a timer, but you can't change it. Bummer. Take number 2. I've heard this in class multiple times. Well, how about we subclass? Somebody will start, and I'll say yeah. And they'll say, well, let's subclass QWidget. Well, just because I subclass QWidget doesn't mean that my subclass of or my Q checkboxes will change its behavior. You're right, Jesper. Okay, so how about we modify the source code? Yeah, that's a terrible idea, because you have millions of users out there, and they all need to have your special modified version of Qt, not the one that ships with the SDK or anything else. Terrible idea. Okay, how about we subclass QCheckbox? Ooh, so you want my boss is a terrible boss, checkbox :public QCheckbox. My boss is a terrible boss, line edit :public QLine, and so on. Oh, that feels painful, but doable, and less painful than modifying Qt at least. But there is a third option. The third option is... Before I tell you, you have to promise me that you watch this episode to the very end, because if you just take this tool that I'm giving you now and using it, you will be rather doomed. Okay, are you ready? The tool is event filters. Oh, you saw that in the table of content? Oh man, let me show you a small animation on what it looks like. So here I have an object, and that object has an event on the way to it. It could be a mouse event or key event or a, what do I know, retranslate event. Any kind of event is on the way to this object. Now, what I can do is I can install an event filter, and it's like this thingy sitting around the object. And if I install an event filter on this object, then all the event, mouse press, mouse release, mouse move, key press, key release, scroll event, and the several hundred other events that you saw in the episode way back when we talked about events will all be going through the event filter before it goes to the object. I can install multiple event filters if I want, and if I do that, then the latest event filter installed is the one that will see the event first. So I called install event filter with the inner event filter here, and then I called install event filter with the outer one, and now the event will first be seen by the outer one, then by the inner one, and then finally by the object. And here comes the trick. An event can say, yeah, or an event filter can say, yeah, let's not tell the inner event filters or the object itself about this. And if that's the case, then and no, doesn't indicate that this event filter will see the event on the way out. That's not how it works. But it means that the event will stop at this point, and the object will never ever be notified about this. You install event filters on objects by simply calling install event filter, giving it an event filter as an argument, and then that is an event filter on that object. There are one special object in our system that if you install an event filter on that, it will sit around all the objects, and that is our Qt application. It says Qt application here, but it's really the Q application object, or it's even the Q core application instance that it's sitting around. If you install an event filter on that, then every single event going to any object in your system will go through that. And again, you can install multiple of event filters on Q application, and then the outer one sees the event first. Okay, Jesper, how does that exactly help us with our stupid boss? Well, I can install an event filter on all of my objects, or I could install one on Q application. And whenever an event is on the way, I'll check whether it is a mouse enter event or whether it's an enter event it's called. And if that's the case, then I'll show my message. And I have some code to show that to you right here. Here's my class, or in my main, again, as we've seen many times throughout. I have a checkbox, I have a line edit, I create an instance of help filter, giving it the status bar of my main window here, and the text for the status bar and a parent. And I create another one down here, and I'll rework the code for you in just a minute. So don't worry that I have one event filter for all of my objects. I'm just giving you an example of 2 event filters installed. So on my box, I call install event filter with this one. On my edit, I call install event filter on this one, and the rest is just regular setup. And what does my event filter look like? Well, event filters are subclasses from QObject which implement a method called event filter. The code up here is just setting up the event filter, remembering the bar and the text that I gave it, and stores those as instance variable. Down here we have the event filter. And the event filter gets two pieces of information. Which object is the event on the way to, and which event is on the way to that object. So I test whether the type of the event is enter event. And if that's the case, then I will show my text for 5 seconds. If it's leave event, I will clear my text right away. And in any case, I need to return a Boolean. I return false, and all the significance of that will be clear in just a second. But you can see here, I move my cursor up, and right there is the text for line edit. After 5 seconds, it goes away again. Moving into checkbox, moving to line edit, moving to checkbox. So that part is working. What the return type here means is basically what we have over here. If I say return true, that means don't go any further. And I can show you that here. Just running the application, now I return true instead, and you'll see nothing. Why did you see nothing? Well, because among all the events that is on the way to this object, there is one very special one called paint event. And the object never ever got a notification that Qt would like it to paint itself. So it's still sitting there waiting. When will it even show me? Because the object doesn't even know that it has been shown, because there was no show event. The good thing is that my event filter at least works. So I can still see my events or my text here, but I cannot, no mouse event, no key press event, no nothing is going to it. So super careful with this return type. At this time in class, I usually ask my students whether they've seen the movie Men in Black. Not the sequel, but the original one, and everybody have it. I'm sure you've seen the movie Men in Black too. Not two, just Men in Black. And I asked them, do you remember the scene where Will Smith goes into that cupboard where all those guns are? And he takes out a gun, or he says, well, yeah, that is what I'm talking about. And he wants to take out a gun. Everybody knows that scene too. There's something magic about that scene. But what Will Smith gets is this tiny little wee little gun. Now fast forward the movie like a few minutes, and Will Smith is on the street and he aims. Not like this, because that would require... He aims like this at the monster. And shoot. And you remember what happens? He flies backwards into the garbage truck. Let's not get into the physics of how that works, but that little thing that I gave you there is an event filter. Okay. Are you ready? I will tell you a very mean, evil event filter, just so that you can get an idea of how bad it is. We're back in my story now. My boss, who I hate the guts of because he asked me to implement stuff like what you saw. He fired me, and now I'm going to get back to him. And don't do this at home. And if you do, don't claim that I taught you how to. I don't want to go to jail. So what I'll do to my boss is that at very unimportant, that's the word I was searching for, place in the code, like a plug-in, that people never do any code review on anyway, because nobody can care about it, but nevertheless, it's always loaded. I will implement an event filter, and I'll install that event filter on Q application. Nobody will see that I sneaked that into the code base, and I will activate it only after several months after I left the organization. So it'll check for the date, and if it's a Saturday evening, then it will start trigger. What it'll do is that it'll start listening to key press events. So if you within a minute have typed the letter E 3 times, just 3 times within that minute, then it will start eating the letter A. You're following me? I install an event filter. I have some code executed. It'll install an event filter, but only if it's after a given date, today, and the event filter will only activate, so it will wait with listen, or it will not do anything while listening until Saturday evenings after 10 o'clock. And then it will start doing its evil thing. Our customers will for months and months complain that there's something broken with their keyboard because ever so often an A is missing. We have a code base of 10 million lines of code. Nobody will ever be able to figure out what's going on because my event filter is sitting over there. Nobody's going to look at that code unless they have been in my class too and know about event filters. So nobody will notice. It will only trigger Saturday evening between 10 and 12. That's when you are not at work debugging. It will only trigger when, very odd case, that you type the letter E 3 times within a minute. And then only 70% of the time it will eat A's. Impossible. I'm not teaching you how to be an evil hacker here. I'm teaching you the importance of being super careful with event filters. Because the event filters have the option of solving what's otherwise impossible. Would I install an event filter or would I hack the source code in Qt? Okay, I'll take the event filter. Would I subclass every single class that I have in my UI? Or would I install an event filter? I'll take the event filter. Would I do something relatively easy to do otherwise, or would I take the event filter? By all means, stay away from the event filter. It is the last resort, or at least it should be for a few more years for you until, well, that day when you really have no other options. Because you do run the risk that you could shoot yourself terrible in the foot with this event filter. You could slow the application down rather drastically without it being noticeable elsewhere, because every single event in your system goes through that event filter. Do not take milliseconds on anything in that event filter, or you will have a crippled system that might only be crippled in certain situations. And that is just the worst part, to try and figure out why it's slow. With that warning in place, let me update the code. I'd like to do a final live coding for you where we modify the code base to not have an event filter for every single object, but just one event filter installed on Qt application. Your application is too slow, huh? Is it the CPU, the GPU, the throughput on the bus? Where is it? In KDAP, we have experience, and we have a, I would almost say, scientific approach to looking at these kind of problems. Talk to us. Okay, back in my code. I don't want to spend a lot of time on this, so let's just find a few shortcuts. So my filter here no longer takes the text up here, obviously, and I will add a method that is called register, taking a Q object. Oh, let's just take a Q widget and a Q string. And it should of course be a const Q string reference, whatever, but what I'll do on my object or my widget there, I'll say widget, then I'll call set property. Remember we talked about dynamic properties, and obviously GitHub Copilot have seen me do this before because it suggests that I set the property help text to be string, and that's exactly what I want. And now in my could have been, it could be on a Q object, it doesn't matter. Now down here, I will need to ask my object. So I'll say string equal to receiver, receiver, property, exactly, help text. I'll go and ask for this dynamic property. And if it exists, then it will return a Q variant that is valid. And then I'll go and pull the string out of it. And I will say bar show this string here. Of course, I need to test whether it is valid or not. And if it's not, that means that it hasn't been registered at all. But you get the idea. I just want to go through really fast here. So I will now create a help filter up here. We can continue calling it box filter, but it will no longer take the text. And I will say box filter. I will not install my box filter on the box anymore. I will install it on Q application, Q app, and I will say box filter set. No, what did I call register? What did I call it? Register. Likely not register. That's not a good word for anything. There we are. Register help. Oh, come on, you saw that already back then, and just like, Jesper, you cannot call something register because that's box, text for text box. There we are. And similar, no longer need for this filter here, but I need to say box filter register, text for line edit. Exactly. And running now. It's compiling. And I returned, oh man, come on, did I not return? You saw that too and didn't tell me. Thought we were friends. Oh well, now it will hopefully come up and look good, and the text for line edit, text for checkbox, and this is where you will stand up from your seat and you'll give me a gigantic applause. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Do share with your friends how cool this series has been, because I am afraid that this is the end. But don't worry, there's going to be way more material coming out. This is not the last thing I've recorded, not about Qt Widget, not about anything. There's going to be many more episodes on Qt Widgets and more, and there's already way more than 100 episodes over there if you haven't watched those yet that you can go and watch. But I'd just like to end with a final note here. Namely that if you watched every single episode of this, then you would have watched more episodes of programming with Qt Widget than you would ever be able to watch of Breaking Bad. It only had 62 episodes. This had 69 episodes. So until next time, well, for the rest of your life, until I see you in Qt Widgets and more land. And I'm so bad at goodbyes. I hope you give this a like, that you will share it with your friends, that you will whatever, and that you will say hi if we ever meet at a trade show or a conference or something in the future. Until then, have a great time.